And now let's take a look at the sequencer, how to record, how to play back, and how to make adjustments within your sequence. And what better way to start with than with the tempo button, where of course we can change the tempo of our song. We can do this in different ways. We can turn this knob here and determine the tempo. We can also keep pressing this button and it will analyze the tempo at which we are pressing the button. Or we hold the button and type in a number and we got our BPM going there as well. But there's one more way of changing the tempo in the KO2, and that is by listening to whatever a different device, in this case the OP1, is playing. You can see right now my BPM is at 88. If I press and hold sample as well as tempo, it will now listen to whatever I'm playing. So I'll play the OP1. And it shows me 79 BPM and will adjust its own tempo to this now. So now we have adjusted to the OP1's tempo. However, if I look to tempo, it says 78, so there seems to be some minor bug in this, because it showed me 79 but now changed it to 78. However, this is the way to adjust the KO's tempo to some external signal that you want to synchronize to. I'm sure that this bug will be fixed in a future update. And furthermore, when we're on the tempo screen with the black knob, we can also select how loud we want our metronome to be when we're in recording mode. Okay, now let's finally get into how to actually record something. The most simple way to start is by explaining the live recording, which we can enter by pressing the record button. And you see the record icon flashes here. And it says LN1, which stands for length 1. So our pattern right now is 1 bar long, and we can change the duration using the plus and the minus button. Let's go to 2 bars. And when we are ready to record our pattern now, we can press play and it will give us a 1 bar count in and then start recording. We can press record if we want to stop recording, and play if we want to stop the playback. Now our screen is stuck on 244, which means we are at the end of the second bar right now. We can easily navigate through our sequence with the minus and plus buttons. So we can skip through the sequence step by step and go back to the beginning. We can also skip bar by bar using shift and plus, and shift and minus will get us to the beginning of each bar. One thing you'll come across is that, let's say we are here at 2.31 and you press play. You'll notice that it starts at the beginning of bar 2. If, however, you want to start playing back from the very beginning of your pattern, you can press shift and play, and it will go back to bar 1 and play from the very beginning of bar 1. So when you are stopping the playback and you are somewhere in bar 2, it will always start from bar 2. If you are at bar 16, it will start from the beginning of bar 16 and so on. So if you want to go straight to the beginning, shift and play is your friend. So while talking about navigating through the sequence using the plus and minus button, we can get into the second way of recording notes. You'll notice that as we step through the sequence, you will hear exactly the notes that are recorded onto that step of the sequence, and you will see them light up. So another way to record things is by going through the sequence to the step you want a note to be in, holding record and then entering that note. So now I've entered a kick drum on 1.2.2. So if we play the pattern back, I've got another kick drum added into the sequence. And it doesn't only work by adding things, but you can also remove things. So let's remove this snare. I press erase and the snare, and now it's gone. You can hear it like this. So my first snare is gone. Now you may be able to notice that all of my notes right now are on the grid and are always hitting at the same time and so on. And that's because I am recording in quantized mode, which means that all the notes that are not on point will be shifted to be on point. We can also change this by pressing timing, and you see this light up, and pressing plus, and now we have changed to free mode. That means when I'm recording, my notes will not be shifted to be correct in any way. So let's go to a different pattern and record there, and I'm sure I'm going to record it more sloppy than what I've previously quantized. Yeah, length 2 is good, and let's record something. And I'm sure you could hear that my playing wasn't on point at all, but there is a way to correct this after recording to make it on point, and that's by using the time correct. Press and hold shift and press timing to enter the timing correct menu, TC. Now we can change with the orange knob what kind of grid we want to be adhering to, so 8th notes, 8th triplets, 16th, and so on. I think we can select 8th notes in this case. And now if we press play, it says TC. And you'll notice that if I hold the hi-hat, for example, you can see the numbers went up, and it shows you how many notes it has corrected to align to the grid now. And that was only the hi-hat. So now my hi-hats are straight on point and the other stuff isn't. Let's do it to the kick and the snare as well. As easy as that, now everything is on point. So while in this timing correct or in the timing menu, you can also select a swing parameter with this knob right here. This selects how much every other note on your grid will be shifted to the right. So the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th, the 8th step of whichever grid you have will be shifted to the right side. And it's most easy to explain if we use the note repeat function. The note repeat function can be used by holding the timing button and pressing any of your sounds. So let's do that. We have selected 8th notes right now, so that's what the note repeat will adhere to. And now let's turn the swing parameter. You can hear every other note is shifted to the right. And now it's fully on point. And we can also change the grid size, which means more repeated notes. 8th triplets, 16th, and so on. Still possible to apply the swing. And of course, we could also record this note repeat function. So let's go ahead. let's erase the bongo again. Which, yes, leads me to another point. You saw before how I took out single steps out of the sequence, and that's nice and all, but we can also erase a complete pad out of the sequence. So, for example, if I wanted to erase all of the kick drums out of this pattern, I could press erase, hold the kick drum and wait till it says deleted, and it's gone. I could also undo this by pressing Shift and pressing B, which is the undo button. It's indicated by the umbrella that this option is open to me. And now my kick drum is back, and even my bongo. So you can erase complete tracks out of the pattern, which is really nice. If I wanted to erase the complete pattern, that is also possible. So just now I erased different tracks out of this pattern, but I can also erase the complete pattern by pressing erase and then the group button and holding it for long enough. That will erase the complete pattern, which means all of these recorded tracks right here of these pads in group A. I can also erase a complete scene by pressing erase and holding the main button. That will erase my scene, meaning everything that's going on within this one scene in all the groups and so on. Now we have this perfectly quantized and straight sequence here, which to my ears sounds very boring. So let's try to introduce some more feeling into it by nudging notes slightly off the grid again. I'm going to go back to the beginning of my sequence again, and now we are going to nudge the hi-hats. I'm going to press Shift and the hi-hat and press plus in order to shift it to the right. Let's listen to the sequence. That's not how much I wanted to nudge this hi-hat by. So let's nudge it back and investigate why that was the case. So again, Shift, hi-hat, and now minus in order to shift it back to the left. And the reason it shifted the hi-hat so far to the right was because we are in quantized mode right now. That means this nudging of different notes will adhere to whichever grid we have set in the timing menu. So now it would adhere to the 8th note grid or to the 16th and so on. But if we enter free mode, which means unquantized mode, we can make use of the full 96 ppqn, I think pulses per quarter note resolution of the sequencer and make a lot finer adjustments. So let's do that. We're in free mode now, Shift, hi-hat and plus. Now you see we're moving in ticks. Let's give it 4 ticks and see what happens. You can hear that the hi-hat now hits slightly after the kick drum rather than a whole 16th or 8th note later. Let's go back there and move to this hi-hat. So now we're at the beginning of the sequence. If we press plus now, you see we're not moving a full step, but only a few ticks between this note and the other. Let's shift it further. So this is quite extreme and noticeable now. Let's do this on a few more notes. And I make the sequence shorter so I don't have to do it so often. But this is the sequence now. So you can hear there's a lot more movement. Of course, this doesn't sound perfect, but it gives you an idea that you can actually really adjust the notes to exactly where you want them to be. We could also, of course, do this to the snare drum a bit later. And play it again. And now we got a drunken drummer going on. So you can introduce randomness and more movement into your sequence even after having recorded it into quantized mode in the first place. And just in case I haven't mentioned it yet, whatever grid, if we are in quantized mode, we have set this to, it will adhere to this when we are navigating through our sequence as well. So that means now we are navigating in increments of 30-second notes instead of 16th like we did in the beginning. So it needs more clicks to get through our sequence. And we can make more finer choices where we place our notes. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something. If you want to learn more, feel free to contact me for private online lessons. Link down in the description or probably somewhere up there. Hope to see you in the next one. Until then, have a wonderful time. Peace.